Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Samaya. If you're new here, this is my channel, Sunny Archives. And today I wanted to go ahead and give a June wrap up and let you guys know what I read, how I felt about it, and all that good stuff. So, first up, we have A River Enchanted. Now, in June, I read both A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. I happened upon these books while scrolling through Libby because I've been trying to keep up with listening to audiobooks while I'm driving. And if I'm not currently listening to an audiobook that I have in a physical copy or on my Kindle, sometimes I just scroll on Libby, look for the audiobooks that are currently available, and if the description sounds like something I would read, I just go ahead and download it, and that becomes my car read, if you will. So that's how I came upon this series, and I didn't know it was a series when I first started reading the book. And I was pleasantly surprised. I rated both the first and second book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's fantasy based. You have a main male character and a main female character. I don't want to give too much away. It's fantasy. It's based on this island in, I was mixed up. I don't know if it's based out of Scotland or Ireland, but it's like way back when. And you have people that have magical capabilities. Sometimes, depending on what part of the island they're on, it takes a toll on them while they use their magical capabilities, or if they're on a different part of the island, they don't use magical capabilities because it takes a toll on the magical spirits, and so nobody tries using magic at all. So it's a very interesting story. Both the first and second book, they do build off of each other. It's not a standalone series. um yeah, I don't want to I recommend it if you like fantasy and you also like romance, because there is a bit of romance in there, but there's so much more to the story than just the romantic aspect, and I really enjoyed it. Like lately I've definitely been getting into books that they have a romance a part of it, but it's not the main idea, if you get what I mean. So yeah, like I said, both of those books were 4 stars, and that was by Rebecca Ross. Now, in between listening to A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless, I read Lore of the Wilds by Annalie Sabrana, and I also enjoyed this book. I happened upon this book a year ago, sometime last year, and I was in Target. Wasn't in Target for books. However, I had to go to the book section. If you know, you know. And this was the one of the books I picked up. This was also the same trip when I found out and picked up the Mead Mishap series. So yeah, this book was pretty interesting. You have the main character, Lore, and she's a human, and the humans are trapped in this town. They can't get out, and basically, this story follows her being taken from that town and finding a way to basically set her people free and tap into magic of her own, because the humans are trapped there by these higher elves, these dark, I mean, not dark elves, dark fae. They're trapped there by dark fae, and not all of the fae, like light fae, mixed fae, not all of them know that the humans are there against their own will. So it's a very interesting story. She ends up befriending this light fae, or no, I think he's a dark fae, but he's a lower species of dark fae. It's a lot of hierarchy that goes on in this book. And then she also befriends two mixed fae, like they're half light, half dark fae. The brother takes on more of the dark fae side, and the sister takes on more of the light fae side. But it is an interesting read. A lot of twists and turns. It ends on, I would say it does end on a cliffhanger. The second book, I don't know how long ago the second book was released, but I do know that it became available on to order off of Amazon yesterday, the 8th. Oh no, today the 8th actually. Today is July 8th, by the way. And yeah, so I am excited to read the second book. I actually need to go ahead and get it off of Amazon. And I'm excited to see how the story continues because, like I said, it is a cliffhanger, and the plot twist at the end of the story I was not expecting. It's always interesting to me when I see people review certain books and they're like, yeah, I was totally expecting that. You could definitely see that that was going to happen or something like that was going to happen. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm slow or not paying attention, but a lot of these things are real plot twists, and I'm just not expecting them at all. So I definitely enjoyed this book. I rated this 3.5 stars. I would definitely read more of the series. It's just, I don't know, maybe some factors of it were a little bit too lingering for me. Maybe they could have been shortened a little. I don't know. It wasn't giving full 4 or 5 stars, but I did enjoy it. And to me, a 3 or 3.5 star is not bad at all. So that was Lore of the Wilds. And I also read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. If you don't remember, 7 Days in June was one of the books that I got from my library haul a couple of videos back. And I enjoyed that book. I rated it 3 stars. A lot of heavy topics, a lot of heavy topics. So I would definitely read the trigger warnings before you delve into that book. But it is an amazing book. It definitely hits on, like I said, not only heavy topics but hard topics, things that aren't necessarily triggering. Well, that's subjective because anything can be triggering to anyone. Me personally, there were topics that were hard but not heavy, so they may be things that are difficult to bring up in conversation, especially with people you're close to. However, they weren't necessarily triggering to the point where I was like, oh, might need to stay away from this. So this book follows the main, it's really bad, I cannot remember the name of the main character. However, the main character is a Black female. She's a mom. She's a single parent. She, I won't say recently divorced, but she is divorced. I can't remember what the time frame was at the start of the book for how long she has been divorced. However, she's divorced, so she's no longer with the father of her child, and it navigates her life as a creative, as a single mom, as a single Black mom, as a Black author, as a Black author of a non-fictional genre, if that makes any sense. Because she writes fantasy, like erotica fantasy, and so it's just very interesting to see how she kind of develops throughout the story. It does go back into her past, and a lot of her past is where the heavy triggering topics come up, not just for her but also for the male main character. They have literal history with each other, and it goes into it. Flashbacks is an understatement, okay? It definitely goes into their past. It's giving you whole scenes from how they met each other, what went down, how it led up to the future. It's a lot. And hopefully, I didn't give too much away with the way I described it. I try not to give spoilers, but sometimes I find it's hard to describe certain books without giving too much away. But I definitely enjoy it. And there's actually a sequel to this book. I'm pretty sure it's already been out, but I need to get my hands on it. I need to see if my library carries it or if I can just kind of order it for pickup to my library. But there's a sequel to the book, and it focuses on her daughter and her daughter's journey. And I'm very excited about that because even though it is focused on her daughter, I'm pretty sure people have been saying that you do get tidbits of what is happening with the mom and her individual life. So I'm really excited to read the series to that book, just like I'm excited to read the series to Lore of the Wilds. Yeah, like I said, 3 stars, not too bad. I definitely would recommend it, but again, check those trigger warnings. Yeah, it gets pretty, I won't say graphic because it's not, well, I guess it is graphic. I don't know. I guess when I think of the term graphic, I'm thinking like, oh, like blood and gore, but there is blood and it is kind of gory. And then, yeah, I'm gonna stop it right there. Like I said, check trigger warnings, and that goes for any book you get into. You just really never know, even though it might be a fantasy or a little fluffy romance or whatever. Check the trigger warnings, because even a couple videos ago, whenever I reviewed reading just for the summer, that seems all happy and fluffy, especially in the description, but you need to check those trigger warnings too, because there could be topics that are really hard for some people in that book, and if you know, you know. Anyways, last but not least, I read A Discovery of Witches. This was the big mama book that I had out of that library haul, the same library haul with 7 Days in June. And this book is by Deborah Harkness. And I rated this book 3 stars. Oh, I lied. 7 Days in June was 3.5 stars, not 3 stars. I rated A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness 3 stars. And that book, when you want to think about adventure, mystery, romance, coming of age, but not in the sense of like becoming an adult, but more so coming into your true self, no matter what point of life you're at. That book has a little bit of everything. And it's a series and it's a TV show. Yeah. Yeah. So I will say there were some aspects of it that I was just like, not really feeling this. And it more has to do with like my personal morals and beliefs and whatever. However, the majority of the book I did enjoy. It's a lot going on. Let me see. I would recommend you listening to it. If you're someone that enjoys audiobooks, I definitely would recommend you listening to it. 2 reasons. When you have a big, thick book, it can get pretty daunting. However, I do know that there's a sense of pride and elation and kind of self reward when you see how much you're progressing in a thick book physically. However, it might seem easier on the spirit if you listen to a book instead of reading it if it is a very long book. Secondly, because of how much adventure and things that happen in this book, it just makes it very interesting to listen to. You know, you're doing dishes or you're driving to work or whatever, and just especially when it's narrated by different people or it's narrated by a person that changes their tone, their voice, their inflections to represent the different characters, it definitely makes it much more catching to the mind, I would say, when you listen to these kinds of books. Because that's how I fell in love with the Rebecca Ross series. They use different voices, different people, different tones, inflections, all that good stuff. Actually, no, I think it was just one narrator. And that's the thing. It could be one narrator, but sometimes I think it's like two or three because of the way they change their voice for different characters. It's really cool. So, yeah, I don't know how much I'm willing to read more into the series. I do want to see the TV show to see how much it relates to the first book. However, I don't want to watch too much of the TV show because I don't want to ruin the second book for myself if I feel like reading it. So I think I need to do my research to see what episodes pertain to the first book and watch those. And or maybe I'll just watch the first episode because it'll be really crazy if they have part of the second book in the first episode because there's so much that happens in the first book. There's no way they have all of the first book in the first episode. And I'm pretty sure they have at least, I know they have at least one season. I want to say they have two, maybe 3 seasons of the show. So, anyways, we'll see. But yeah, those are the 5 books that I read in June. 5 books in June. So, unlike 7 Days in June. Anyways, but those are the 5 books I read in June. Not too bad. Everything a 3 star or above. Still haven't gotten into, well, this may or may not be a lie. I can't remember, but if I can't remember, that's an issue. But I don't remember having a 5 star read yet this year. I'm gonna have to check my Goodreads, but I think that's really sad. To me, I'm like, if I have a 5 star, it has to be something that I don't forget. That's not necessarily the case because the Mead Mishap series for me, I don't think that was a 5 star, but I just can't not forget that series. I guess because I just wasn't expecting it and it threw me for a loop and they're all very like catching stories. But anyways, it was a good month of reading and yeah, I'm excited to see how much and what I read for July. So far I've gotten through 1 book this month. And technically, A Discovery of Witches was finished this month, but it was finished on the 1st. And so to me, I feel like I should just count it as a June book because most of it was read in June. So, and literally, if I finished probably 30 minutes sooner, it would have been read in June. So that's that on that. I'm feeling really sleepy. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock, left the house around 4:30. It was supposed to be 4:15, but I couldn't find my keys, couldn't find my wallet. You know, doing the run around with the chicken with the head cut off type thing. And yeah, drove an hour to go take a soldier based boot camp class. Amazing class. I have never taken a fitness class before. Yesterday and today were the first times that I've ever like gone to a fitness class as an adult. It was a great experience. Yesterday I did reformer Pilates, and I've never done that before. I've always wanted to try reformer Pilates. And then today, like I said, I did the boot camp, the military based boot camp class, and I love those. If I could do both of those every day, I would feel so good. I already feel pretty good, but it's just amazing because the boot camp class, it gets you running, moving, it's a full body workout. You know, you might be lifting weights or doing push-ups or doing squats or whatever. You're doing all these things, working out all of your body. And then the Pilates class is stretching you out, and it's also stretching and working certain muscles that you wouldn't normally use. Like the average person is probably not using certain of these small muscles or hard to reach areas in terms of stretching or working out or all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a great experience, and it's definitely something I want to keep up with. Before I go, guess what I have? I'm so excited to see my book of the month book collection growing. I normally open this up better, but um I've mentioned this before, but I've always enjoyed seeing people's videos where they already, first of all, I'm on a journey to have my own library. I don't know how many books you need to make up a library, but even if I don't meet that number, I just want to be able to come into a room wherever I'm living and at least have a full wall of books. You know what I mean? Even if it's a small wall, I still feel like that's a lot of books. You know, think about the smallest wall you have in your home, and then try to imagine if corner to corner, unless you already have this luxury, blessings to you, but then imagine corner to corner, top to bottom, left to right, that entire wall is just stacked with books in nice shelves, and there's no space. Like I know people have libraries where they have books, and they do have a lot of books, but you see they have a lot of space that they've either filled in with trinkets or cute bulky bookends or whatever. But imagine a wall completely packed with books. That's something that I would like to have. So I'm on a journey to do that, and that's why I've been enjoying reading at the library lately, and picking up books, because I do have a lot of my own books to choose from to read, but at the same time I'm kind of enjoying going to my local library and obviously those books have to be read in a certain amount of time, and then it's like I kind of want to have more of a collection of unread books uh before I start delving into my own books. But it's like I'm not gonna stop buying books because listen, I could be buying drugs, okay, and I'm not. So but anyways, this month's book for July, we have How Freaking Romantic by Emily Harding, and it's so cute. I love this cover. You know me, I always have to see what the hard book looks like, and of course, it always matches the cover. We love the cohesion. Let me just read the blurb. Beatrice Nilsson is a lot of things. Feisty to those who love her, combative to those who don't, but most of all, she's the kind of person who will always fight for those she cares about. So when the marriage of her two closest friends fall apart, English. So when the marriage of her two closest friends falls apart, Bee storms the office of attorney Nathan Asher to tell him exactly what he can do with his divorce demands. Unfortunately, what should end with a few choice words soon spirals into uncharted territory when Nathan shows up at her NYU law office a few days later as a newly minted adjunct professor and her new colleague. Bee still hates Nathan, of course, but between weekly meetings and networking events, walks around Washington Square Park, and late night pizza, that hate being this always happens to me. I'm so tired. But between weekly meetings and networking events, walks around Washington Square Park, and late night pizza, that hate begins to feel a lot like something else. And as uncomfortable truths emerge about the divorce that started it all, she's faced with the impossible, choosing between her friends or, for the first time, her own happily ever after. I want to say that this is my first straight up romance that I've gotten from Book of the Month. My other ones, I'm pretty sure there's touches of romance in some of the other books, but they've mostly been fiction, mystery. I think one of them is thriller, one of them is straight up fantasy, I want to say. But yeah, I love this and I'm so excited. I have another BOTM book from my collection. And then, of course, the monthly bookmark. This month's bookmark says, "Is this spot taken?" So cute. So, wait, so you can create a phrase to go on the bookmark and submit it? I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm sure I have something clever to put on a bookmark. But yeah. So guys, that's it for now. Like I said, I think I'm gonna run out, get these two ingredients, and then come back because baby boy is down for a nap right now. If you can tell, it's quiet, it's serene. But yeah, I want to try to get back before he wakes up. So I will check in you guys. I will check in with you guys in a bit. Oh my goodness. Where are you going?